Is our Monday go-to guy, St. Louis Post-Dispatch columnist, and with the sports guys tonight, but we get him on Mondays. Good morning, Ben.
Good morning, McGraw. How's it going?
Good. Two things before we get to Cardinal baseball, and that is the Porters. You think they're going or you think they're staying?
I would guess going if I had to put them all in one package. I think ideally, I think Michael will go. I understand he's going to not say that yet. He will probably make an announcement on his own behalf. There certainly is some speculation that maybe he'll consider a return because he wasn't happy with the way he played and what he showed NBA scouts when he returned. I still think he probably goes to the league. And then you have Jontay, who I think could benefit from another year in college basketball because he kind of lacks the physicality. But if I'm an NBA team, I see the potential in him. I see that high ceiling. Look, I think there's a chance. There's probably a chance you don't see any Porter on this team next year, including on the coaching staff.
Where does he go? He goes to the NBA with them?
Who knows? Maybe goes runs the foundation, or goes on the road with Michael. I don't know. I got to be careful how I say this here. I don't know that there's a lot added there if those Suns aren't playing on that team. Now, if Jontay stays, then it makes a lot of sense. But if Jontay can go first round, then I don't know. I don't really know why he wouldn't, especially as the NBA kind of trends toward more draft and develop type. So he could benefit from another year in college basketball. He has the skill. He needs to beef up and be stronger physically. But they can, we're seeing guys get drafted in the NBA now who aren't at that level. I mean, I remember a story about Kevin Durant going one and done, and he couldn't bench press 185 pounds at the NBA Combine. He turned out okay.
Right, yeah. All right, the UMBC, the upset of the tournament. We were arguing this could be one of the greatest upsets in the history of all sports.
Well, it's never happened before. It has to be considered, right? A school that none of us even knew existed. I mean, I know I didn't. I certainly I had no idea it was a thing. And for them to go knock off Virginia, which, to be honest, is really a favor to all of us because while Virginia is a very good team, they are one of the most boring teams to watch, right up there with Syracuse. So I love it, man. College basketball is so screwed up, but the tournament is the one thing that the NCAA gets right.
Do you see where Central Florida tweeted out, see what happens when everyone plays on an equal playing field?
Yeah, that's great. Central Florida should go play Alabama and tell me how that
don't start. Oh, they will. They will in Lincoln. Don't be bad-mouthing Scott Frost.
Comparison, man. You put that basketball team went out and actually played somebody. Central Florida filled their schedule full of weak opponents and then cried about it at the end. There are plenty of teams who would put Central Florida on the schedule if they really want to put their money where their mouth is.
Oh, you're on double secret probation, bad-mouthing Scott Frost. That's all I got to say.
He's not even there anymore.
What? I thought Jack Flaherty was going to end up with the Cardinals. Why'd they send him down?
He will end up with the Cardinals. Basically, Jack Flaherty is the next man up. So if and when there is a need for him in the rotation, he'll be right there unless it happens on a day where he just pitched or something like that.
Right.
Basically, him and John Gant, 1A and 1B, when it comes to filling from within for the rotation. So this wasn't a surprise what happened yesterday. Jack pitched great. His ERA in Grapefruit League is not realistic because he gave up one grand slam to some guy named Manny Machado early on. But he pitched great after that. He had, I think, as many strikeouts as like Scherzer during the spring. He was just he was really, really good. Except for one bad pitch to Manny Machado. And the Cardinals have seen everything they need to see from him. They would have no problems putting him in the rotation in St. Louis tomorrow if the need arises. But right now, there isn't that need. Adam Wainwright has calmed concerns about him this spring. Now, those could come back up when the games start to count. And also, Miles Michaelis has, answered some questions about two bad spring starts that he had. He looked better his last few times out. So inevitably, no team anymore goes through a season with five guys. They're going to need some help.
Yeah.
And they feel good about Jack being able to do that. This just allows him to kind of get focused and ready for the season in Memphis. And that was a similar decision with Carson Kelly, except that to me was a little more surprising. Carson came here with the intention of competing for the backup spot to Yachty. And that was the plan last year when he was called up. He's the top 2 catching prospect in the game, depending on which scouting service you trust. They brought him up last year, and Mo said pretty candidly, look, we don't think he has anything left to prove in Memphis. Yesterday was a reversal in that approach. The Cardinals have said, look, we don't think he's staying sharp enough, not playing every day. And if we have a need at catcher that's more than a game here or there, then he will be the guy. But he's not getting better sitting on the bench behind Molina. Molina has shown no signs that he's going anywhere anytime soon. He just signed that extension.
Right.
So Carson's going to play every day in Memphis unless there's a need.
Yeah.
His hitting has fallen off this spring. He's like 3 for 30. A few balls have gotten away from him that he usually probably would have blocked. So the Cardinals want to see him get some more regular work and try to get back to the guy that they know he can be.
Yeah. You've been down there a couple weeks. Ozuna, what are your thoughts? What are your initial thoughts as you watch him down there?
Well, I know he's a heck of a hitter, and he's starting to show that a little bit more. I think one of the things that's interesting is everybody raves about his power. He's also just a good hitter. I mean, we've seen him go the other way with 2 strikes. We've seen him put balls in plays when he gets behind in counts. I think the lift and the power are certainly there. I think early on he was probably pressing a little bit because he wanted to show off. But as this lineup has started to look more like a major league lineup, he started to come around a little bit, and I think this offense could be decent. Between especially the top half, and I would leave Matt Carpenter at leadoff, but wherever they hit him, he's going to be able to hit, especially with the guys that they've added. And you put Ozuna in there in the 4 spot to add some punch and some RBIs. It could be a pretty decent 5. I mean, you look at Yadier Molina, and he's probably going to be batting 6 or 7, and he led the team in RBIs last year.
Ben Frederickson, St. Louis Post-Dispatch columnist. The season is starting earlier this year, right? I mean, it seems it's starting on a week from this Thursday, isn't it? Normally, don't they wait till the first day or two in April?
Well, they're trying to shorten spring training down a little bit, which is smart. The players think spring training is way too long,
right?
And I think everybody agrees with them, except for the teams that are making a boatload of money by charging people ridiculous prices to go to spring training games. So it's gonna be feels like it's getting here quicker. It's gonna feel like a long time for Cardinals fans to see a home game because the Cardinals play their first 2 series on the road, which is a little unusual.
Right. Yeah. Are you going to take the train up and then stop off at Augusta on the way back to St. Louis?
I'm not. No, I'll be.
No?
I'll be flying, and then we'll send a crew to cover opening day. But I will not be on the. I'll not be on that trip. So maybe I can make my much anticipated visit to the studio.
There you go. There you go.
Around that week. How about that?
Opening day. What? Carlos Martinez versus Noah Syndergaard?
Yes.
Yeah.
And interesting matchup because Carlos has. There's no point in beating around the bush. He's been a little off this spring. He had the Cardinals are doing something a little different with the pitchers here late in camp. They're having Adam Wainwright is going to make his next start in a minor league game because that keeps him from facing the Mets. So they don't want to have Adam Wainwright pitch against the Mets major leaguers and then go out and do it again in the first series of the season when it counts, which makes sense. But the idea is you'd like to see these guys go to the minor league games and tear it up. And yesterday Martinez was. He's just flat out bad in a minor league start. He pitched 6 innings. It took him about 100 pitches. He gave up a 3-run blast to a minor leaguer from the Marlins. He walked guys. He hit a guy twice. He had a bad first inning. It was tough. And that's a little concerning because it continues that trend of Carlos struggling in the first inning. So I think they would like to see him look a lot better in his next start, or else they're going to head into the games that count with not a great feel for how Carlos has pitched here.
And you got Thor throwing 100 miles an hour in the 8th inning or whatever the other day. So
yeah, that should test that lineup out. So I'm sure folks will remind me I was complimenting the lineup when they face Syndergaard.
Ben, have a good day, safe travels, and we'll see you next week.